Hey Dharma Circle, Swati here, the embodied Dharma coach. And I have an interesting topic for you today. One that I've been contemplating myself and certainly shows up a lot in my work with clients through Dharma Mentorship. It's the question around, have I grieved enough? And is there more to grieve? And I want to just remind all of us that grief is a life process, that learning how to skillfully grieve and navigate our grief is essential for life. And I encounter clients who are changing their identity, literally going through an ego identity shift. And this is part of their dharmic path. They want something new for their life. They want something different for their life, but they are stuck. They are finding that it's hard to move forward for some reason, and that's why they come to me. So there's a question of what's in the way here. And inevitably, what's in the way is grief and the need to honor something that has not fully digested. And this is a transformation process. And it's also a life process. So there's never going to be a time when grief isn't applicable. We have cycles, rhythms, waxing, waning, new moons, full moons. We have equinox, solstice. We are constantly dancing with nature in her ebbs and flows, her waxes and wanes. And I think there's a huge disconnect for all of us with nature's cycles and rhythms. And we all do it, but we forget. We forget that, of course, we would be in a grief process right now. Something new is opening. When there is a readiness to open to something new, inevitably there will be releasing, there will be loss, there will be letting go, there will be closures. That is the path of life and awakening more life force. And so I meet people who are ready for the change. They're ready for the new. They are opening to something new in themselves and their path with their gifts and their offering. But the forgotten piece is, wow, have I grieved? And have I honored the past? And am I attending to the closure in order to fully open to the new? We are at a junction point right now in the cycles and the rhythms of nature, solstice. For the Northern Hemisphere, this is a closure. It is a release. It is a process of tending to the dark. And we do that with nature, so that we have the space for the new. And so my question to you is, what are you grieving right now? And how are you honoring your grief? What are the rituals? What are the tools? What are the resources that are supporting this shift for you and your body? And at the same time, are you spending time with your emotional body? Your feelings, and feeling what you feel without a need to change it, without a need to make it different, just honoring the discomfort of our time. It is a very uncomfortable time on the planet right now, and it's okay to honor that. It's also essential in order to birth the new. In order to birth the new, we must be willing to honor the grief And I hear from so many people who want to just push past it and who are in denial of the amount of grief and grief work that it takes to birth something new. It is not a simple, easy process for many. And a lot of the grief that we're digesting is personal and from this life and previous lifetimes. We're also digesting ancestral grief, and depending on the amount of ancestral grief that you're carrying in your body and your ancestral body, you're going to be digesting that. And that's going to play a role in your dharmic path and your dharmic offering. There's also collective grief. And there is a lot of collective grief moving right now. And it requires our attention and intention. And leaning into the discomfort rather than wishing it away, numbing, avoiding, bypassing, love and light, all of these things that historically people have done, especially in Western-centric cultures. Colonialism is a huge predatory energy that encourages disconnection from our body and our body wisdom. But the truth is that the grief is here, whether we're feeling it or not. So my encouragement to you is to just feel it, to honor the grief that is here so that it can move. And it doesn't have to be huge, elaborate rituals. It can be simple, it can be gentle, and it can be consistent. So here's the suggestion for you as we approach solstice. This turning point, the turning point of light, the turning point of life. I'm going to encourage you to go out in nature and to gather a grief bundle. Each item in your grief bundle is from nature, and of course, ask before you take. And each item in your grief bundle represents a grief that you are carrying right now. Make sure you have something that represents your ancestral grief, the collective grief as well, and the grief that is unknown or hidden to you at this time. And return these items to the elements. So choose an element that feels important to you, whether it's flowing water or fire. It could even be burying them in the earth, letting them go into the wind. But as you release these items back into nature, name the grief. And let nature support you in this clearing and release. It's a way to tend and honor. Pause, check, notice. This is an important turning point for all of us. And it's important to mark these moments in time with intention. So share with us your grief bundle so we can witness you in that. And name the grief that you're carrying right now, that you're transforming, honoring, releasing, so that we can make space. This is about making space. Space for the new. And you don't even have to know what that is yet. It's just simply space at this time. Making space in body, in life. Transforming the grief making space for the new, and honoring disappointments from this past year, hurts, betrayals, losses. Maybe there are old grief that's older, longer lasting, layers that are emerging. This is about making space for the new, and I just want to remind you that this is your dharmic path. There's no cutting and pasting over this. There's no bypassing this. If you are seeking a path of nourishment, it will require that you lean into the darkness. There's not one without the other. And your resistance to your grief will be reflected in your lack of joy. Let me say that again. Your resistance to your grief and others' grief will be evident in your lack of joy. So if you're missing the joy, if you're missing the nourishment, it's probably time to do some grief work. So, honoring these steps and making sure that the grief work isn't neglected. It's also just such a powerful time to do this because nature's doing it. She's doing it right now. So let her support you in this process. If you're ready to really cultivate your dharmic path with other like minds and hearts and step into more nourishment and joy, sharing your gifts and wisdom in this world, trusting your gifts and wisdom, creating an offering that really feels good, I want to invite you to join us in the Dharma Mentorship process. This is for women, bodies who identify as women. We are creative, mystic, artists, movers, poets, dreamers, all with the intention, holding the intention of Dharma and expanding our inner light and our life force energy. And we have applications open this month for Dharma Mentorship, so I want to invite you to join us. I'll put a link above this video, and you can apply through the website. Applications are open. Again, booking into my calendar means you're interested and ready to invest in yourself, to grow, to change, to transform, and that includes your grief work, making space for the new, and transforming, releasing the old. It's a big part of what we do in Dharma Mentorship, and I want to encourage you to join us. So, in this moment of transition, tend to your grief, tend to the darkness, and I'll see you soon.